This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
To the highway in a brand new day. Over the rainbow, gotta let it go. So fast to finger down. Stars tonight together. Here everyone's singing. 你看到我就怕，头皮发麻，我的手。
Welcome back to Open the Voice Gate for February 15th, 2022. We are members of the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. You can find us on the Voices of Wrestling feed or on our own dedicated podcast feed on all podcast platforms and applications. You can follow us on Twitter at Open Voice Gate. If you'd like to donate to the show, click the link in the show notes. It'll take you to our redcircle.com landing site. You click the red box that says sponsor this podcast, and you can set up a one-time or recurring donation. No obligation whatsoever, but we would like to thank all of our previous donors. I am one of your hosts. It's your old pal, Mike Spears. Joined alongside, as always, my co-host, Case Lowe. In Case, everything is going insane right now, but things are not going insane in Dragongate, which is wild because I do feel like things are heating up.
Oh, why? Did some earth-shattering news come across your timeline today, Mike? Did the wrestling world drastically change with a snap of fingers?
I mean, the power has shifted again. Cody Rhodes is coming to Dragongate as the new Gaijin and Z-Brats.
So here's what we're going to do. We're leading off the show with Cody Talk. I don't do any of the back-end stuff for this podcast. I would like to think, Mike, and you can tell me if I'm wrong because it would make great audio, but I'd like to think I'm pretty easy to work with. Every once in a while, I'll make a mistake that I have you edit out, but even that almost never happens. All I request is that the episode title begins with Cody Rhodes to Dragongate ? Because
Okay.
we have to talk about Cody in the context of this promotion, which is, do you think Cody knows what Dragongate is?
Yes, because he's probably been in enough car rides with Matt Seikigun.
Yeah, okay, well, you know what, I can't argue that point. Do we think Cody, in the same way that for so many years people have been asked to name a dirt sheet, do you think Cody can name a Dragongate wrestler?
Oh, that is an interesting question.
And Shima does not count.
Yeah, no, it has to be on the roster right now.
And Ultimo does not count.
Yeah, you got
not legacy acts, not former parties, a current member of the Dragongate roster that has an active storyline.
I have one that I think is the easy one. And then I have one that would be the really funny one if he knew. The one that I'm pretty certain if you're going to pull up a Wordle quiz, or I forgot what it's called, the old quiz website where like people would have you name like every member of the 2011 Texas Rangers roster, that I would suck my time into.
I don't know what that website is. I can't help you there.
Yeah. But if you had a website and it's like name a member of the roster, he probably will get Dragon Kid. I feel like he has to have some awareness of Dragon Kid at the very least.
I think if you put Dragon Kid, Sugi, El Desperado, and Serpentico in a lineup, Cody is going to be able to identify who Dragon Kid is. He is going to be able to point to him and say, that's Dragon Kid, and he's going to be correct. Do you think if there was a multiple choice question and he was given 4 Japanese wrestlers, let's say it's Daisuke Sekimoto, it's Yuji Nagata, it's I'm forgetting all Japanese wrestlers as I make this hypothetical question. It's Daisuke Sekimoto, it's Yuji Nagata, and we'll just cut out the 4th one because I can't think of one. We'll say
Kento Miyahara.
It's Sekimoto, it's Nagata, it's Miyahara, and it's Naruki Doi. Do you think Cody could answer D Naruki Doi is in Dragongate correctly?
I think Cody Rhodes is not a unintelligent person, first and foremost.
No, actually, some might say incredibly smart.
Yeah, self-aware. to a level
I don't know about that.
yeah. That was one of the things that used to be one of my old EE talking points. That he was incredibly self-aware, but as we've seen over the last 6 months, does not seem to be as such. But the thing about the people that you listed there, first off, he's gonna immediately know that Yuji Nagata is not a member of Dragongate because he's been on shows with Yuji Nagata in New Japan.
Yeah.
So he's going to use that education of his. He was in Georgia. That's a standardized testing state. Like he's going to know like this. And he's like Daisuke Sekimoto. That sounds like someone that Gabe brought across, but that could be Dragongate. But I don't think so. So then we're going to get down to Kento Miyahara and Naruki Doi, and there it's 50-50. It's a coin flip. I don't think he knows either Kento Miyahara or Naruki Doi.
That just reminded me that Gabe once booked Cody and Dick Togo on the same Evolve weekend shows. That might have been the first weekend they were on Flow Slam. And if it's not, it's the second weekend, because I remember Gabe booked Dick Togo, and this is when we all liked Dick Togo. This was him coming out of retirement before he had any influence in New Japan, and he booked him against Ethan Page, and it just sucked so much.
Yeah, because it was like Dick Togo was coming out, he had his headband and tights on, and Ethan Page always had a very funny Evolve theme that no matter what would blow out the speakers of every arena that they would visit. Why did I call it an arena? Every bar that Gabe put a show at.
Every back alley in Florida.
Yeah. He was the first person to understand Florida magical realism. The first one. My common answer for what Dragongate wrestler, so that people don't think I forgot this, he probably knows who Kai is.
Does Cody Rhodes know who Kai is a fascinating question. They had to have... Well, did they work an indie show together?
Well, there's that. But also, with as much of like Russell 1 stuff happening with TNA, he would see the card. Like, I know he came in after TNA and Russell 1 was dead at one point, but I feel like that Great Muto still appeared for a level of impact that he was a part of with the next Asterisk Gen title. So I feel like he knows who Kai is.
I don't know if Cody knows what Wrestle 1 is. I lean towards Cody saying he doesn't know who Kai is.
I would love to give I don't even think that it's like that deep of a wrestling quiz, but just like a international wrestling quiz to Cody Rhodes. Like, I don't think he could name a member of the Brazo family.
No, in my mind, and I love Cody. Am I disappointed at the news? Oh, horribly, horribly disappointed. But I love Cody. In my mind, he only watches like 1984 Mid-Atlantic and is blown away when he's still impressed when he sees a 630 splash. Like, he just doesn't, to me, he doesn't watch any wrestling that is in HD, we'll say. If it's wrestling in HD, Cody's not interested in it. He's only watching grainy VHS-like footage.
Yeah, no, I mean, he definitely has some opinions on who throws the best punch.
Yes, that's very important to Cody still.
Yeah, but Cody Rhodes to Dragongate, probably not, but I really hope he joins Z-Brats and ends up doing trios matches and match 3 of Corkin with him, Hio and Diamante versus Ultimo, Gamma, and Sachioko Boy.
Who would you, if you had, so let's say Kobe World is coming up, and the Dragongate President Keto, gets a call from the Rhodes family. President Keto, I've been watching your product. Your youth is amazing. Your storytelling is phenomenal. I, the son of the American Dream, I want a match at Kobe World Pro Wrestling Festival 2022 in front of a non-COVID restricted crowd in Japan. Who are you booking Cody against? Either the funniest match possible, or who do you think he would have a great match with on the roster?
Who do I think he would have the best match on the roster with?
Yes.
I think it would be Eita.
Oh, okay, interesting. Not the direction I would go. I don't know if I believe that.
Because the truth of Cody and Codyism is that it is deeply rooted in territory walk-in brawls where you need to be able to have enough plunder and spectacle. And Eita is as versed as anyone in the roster on that. So
I'm just imagining now. It's match 3 on Kobe World.
No disqualification.
And Cody and H are doing barbed wire board spots to a confused Kobe World crowd.
Yeah, I except for me somehow, because in this scenario, I will be at Kobe World Kinnan Hall, and I will be the one person. I have a homemade Cody Z-Brats towel for this.
Because they like, I've turned the corner on Cody at All In because I was in the crowd and I watched him have this match with Magnus, where in that moment, Cody Rhodes was the coolest guy I'd ever seen. He came out with the Rhodes family and their tracksuits, and he won the NWA title, and it was the greatest thing. And then I think it's the Wrestle Kingdom right after that. I think it was his last New Japan show was when he had that Ibushi match, which was really early on the Tokyo Dome card.
Oh, yeah.
And they went out there and killed each other. And I'm now just imagining that, but the hardcore plunder version with Eita.
Yeah. Handsome Battle in Kobe. That's exactly what's going to happen. I remember that Wrestle Kingdom quite fondly because I did a tweet. It's like, well, right now Cody Rhodes has my match of the year. I did not see. Let's see how long this lasts, and it lasted like 45 minutes. But it was a great match.
Oh my god! Yeah.
So the match that, if he's game for it, I think would be the most amusing would be the match where like, this is not the one that's really that we put up there for Lanza and Craig. This is a match that if you know, you know.
It's 2022 Dragongate. You don't have to worry about that, but go ahead.
Yeah. He has to go against Don Fuji. They need to do that like this. It has to be like him and let's try. I'm just trying to think of someone. Well, he might bring in Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? There was all that stuff going on. Him and Mike Tyson versus Don Fuji and Stalker Ichikawa.
I would love nothing more than to see Mike Tyson and Don Fuji trade sharp right hands, because I think Fuji has a strong chin. I think he could take a few shots.
See, it's not a bad idea, and it fits the thing.
You're right. Booking Mike Tyson versus Don Fuji and Stalker Ichikawa is not a bad idea. I will give you that.
And you can have the crazy Cody entrance in Kobe World Kinnan Hall. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things. Mickey Gooch Jr. can appear out of nowhere. You know, I mean, maybe that's why I'm doing this, because I want Mickey Gooch Jr. to have to be in the same locker room as Super Shisa, and just everyone going like, "What the hell is going on with this?" You know, I'm an agent of chaos. I believe in Codyism with chaotic characteristics.
I think Cody versus KZ would be a legitimately great match. I would really like to see that.
No, that would rock. That would rock. I had one more thing. Yeah, no, I got Cody when I saw him live at Double or Nothing 2019, Breaking the Throne. I was like, oh, for once I get you for this one moment. So
when he came into Evolve, I was actively rooting against him. Could not stand him. Didn't get it. Didn't want him on the indies. Go to Impact where I wasn't watching and just go away. I never really liked him in ROH, even though he was pushed and was great for business. I never really got him there. But once I saw him at All In, I said, holy shit, I get it now. And I don't necessarily like it all the time, but boy, do I get it. And when it hits with me, it hits. And he would certainly hit if he was seconding Kai to the ring as a member of Z-Brats.
I mean, just imagining like everyone coming out and you have Cody and like he will get yellow gear. Well, like say what I will about Cody, he'll play along with this. Cody and SB Kento and Hio running as seconds. Just a great mental image. I think that's amazing. Why wouldn't we want that?
What's his Dragon Gate equivalent of smashing the throne? I'm assuming it's got to be a shot at either Magnum or Shima. Does he just burn a grease flag on the entrance ramp?
No, because Cody's going to be the future congressperson from Hialeah, Florida, so he can't get himself an international incidents case. I'm not his future campaign manager, but just cutting you off of the past there.
Okay, well, we gotta think of it. If you could think of an artifact for Shima or for Cody to destroy, to send a shot at OWE or Magnum Tokyo, at Open Voice Gate on Twitter, please let us know.
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna need some pomp there. We're gonna need that to happen, especially. I mean, we're what 5 months away from Kobe World? Yeah. Oh, it's an early. No, it's not Kobe World. They haven't announced the Kobe World date yet, Case. It's actually kind of surprising.
I was thinking about that last week because I don't know if they're doing one date or two this year. I'm assuming they're doing one. But Do you know how good Cody versus Ultimo in a mask versus hair match would be? That would be like the way people pretend Negro Navarro or Black Terry matches are good. Cody versus Ultimo would be the actually good version of that.
Oh God, because that speaks to Cody's sensibilities, though.
Cody would bleed so much for Ultimo.
He would bleed so much. He'd make sure his hair is bleached right beforehand, so you get like the red all over it. Cody would love to do some mask tearing, and Cody could like go do a cheap DQ to like lose an early fall. No. I feel like that in all like honesty, that probably is the best use of Cody's if he comes in and does a hair match, to be quite honest. But yeah, no. Is Cody a maestro?
I think that's his next step. Not enough people are talking about the AEW to IWRG pipeline that Cody Rhodes could be starting.
Hey, I think that IWRG doesn't want anyone to pay attention to it from the English-speaking world right now.
Why? Are they doing some questionable behavior?
Oh, they're booking someone with questionable behavior.
Yes. It's IWRG. I don't have the energy to get mad at them as a promotion, but it's not good.
No, it's not good. It's not good. Should we actually talk about real Dragongate now, Case?
That's up to you. I could do another half hour on Cody and Dragongate, but if you want to talk about K-ness, go ahead.
I mean, Cody versus K-ness. Cody versus Darkness Dragon. I feel like because he could do like the little bit of the spooky stuff he loves. I mean, there probably was some wheels there.
Yeah, there's a lot of lore in that match, but I'm now fixated on Cody versus Ultimo. I need to see if like Vinny Massaro can make that match happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, geez, imagine how many seats that would sell at PWR. Like you're talking about like probably 2,000, 3,000 seats.
Yeah, it would be a good house for PWR. But let's talk about K-ness.
All right. So as everyone knows, K-ness will be retiring on April 7th. We aren't going to do like a full mini series the same way that we did Speedstar for Masada Yoshino, but the schedule is very weird this year in Dragongate. It's not necessarily like back in the normal swing of things where there might be 2 shows a week. The first 2 show weeks actually this weekend. But from time to time, up until K-ness's retirement on some of the lighter weeks, we're going to dip into his history, and we're going to pull out some matches to talk about. There's a lot, and that was the kind of thing, like when we agreed to do this, that got me cases. K-ness is more of a central figure to the Dragon system that I think if you're someone who's come along, at least even in the Jimmyz era, you might not get how big of a deal K-ness's retirement is.
Yeah, someone who, throughout all of his injuries and his time off, is still strangely involved in, especially Toryumon, but even as we get into Dragongate, some of the most important moments in company history. Yeah,
so we picked 2 matches this week. Both of them are on the network. We're going to try to kind of stick it that way. Like the good thing is now at least the Toryumon section of the network is to a point that, I mean, his most famous match just got put on there this month. So a lot of K-ness's highlights and like the peak K-ness is already on the network. But we'll be pulling out some stuff there because I mean, really the story of K-ness is someone that when he was around, and he was around a whole lot basically up until his shoulder started giving him issues, he was one of the focal points and a linchpin on a very young roster as we experienced watching back through the Japanese landing last month.
Yeah, so let's start with your match because it'll be chronological, but you picked what is one of the more infamous and certainly one of the most important matches in the short history of Toryumon.
Yeah, so this is from August 14th, 2001. It is on the Dragongate Live Network site. It is, I'm trying to think what exact episode it is. It is listed under the heading of July, August 2001, because that's how they did the Vamonos Amigos show. Sometimes it was like monthly digest, but sometimes if there's a lot of stuff going on, they would make sure they would. But this is from Cork and Hall, August 14th, 2001. This is for the UWA Trios titles. The champion team of Crazy Max, of Shima, Don Fuji, Suwa, just going to call them by their 2022 names, makes our lives a whole lot easier, defend the title in the first ever 3-way match in Dragon System history against the challenger teams of Seikigun, Magnum Tokyo, Dragon Kid, and Ryo Saito versus the M2K pairing of Masaki Mochizuki, Yasushi Kanda, and Darkness Dragon.
Yes, so if for some reason the Dragongate Network confuses you, which is very fair, if you go to the homepage, you just scroll down until you see tournaments and series, click on Toryumon Japan, and then go to the bottom of the second page, and you will see a clip from this match in the thumbnail of the video, July and August of 2001 TV. This is the first ever three-way trios match that Toryumon did. You would know better than me, because it might have happened in Lucha at some point, but is this the first style of match that you ever saw? Or I guess the earliest record that we have of a style of match like this?
I mean, there were the TLC matches, but they weren't the style of matches that came before this.
Yeah, and even that is just 2-on-2-on-2,
Right.
with, Lita, Spike, and Rhino as seconds at times. But in terms of a three-way trios match, I do not know of a company that had done this before. I would be curious to see if anybody has that info or not, if they can find one before August of 2001.
Yeah. I know this was not their first one that they had, but the other ones they had in the lead up were not televised. And this is in a very interesting point in the history of Toryumon Japan. Really, at this point, we're now 2 years past the point that we talked about a few weeks ago. We already have a crystallized Crazy Max. M2K has now been on the scene and pretty much ran Ref Shot in 2000. And then we have Seikigun kind of coming together. Really, it was a lot of Magnum and Dragon Kid, and then you would add in Kenichiro Arai, you would add in someone like Genki Horiguchi, you would add in some of these people from the first landings, and then you'd add in Ryo Saito, who really had an interesting kind of 2001, I would say, at least. Like he was later than the original landing, but he was there soon enough after that he is considered Toryumon Japan. But he was most known when he was a rookie as being the bicycle enthusiast who in 2000 and 2001 got into a blood feud with Don Fuji over possession of Ryo Saito's bicycle.
Yeah, he is the bridge between Toryumon Japan and the Toryumon 2000 project. Like you said, the Bicycle Brother, something that I think Saito is still known for. Every once in a while, Dragongate will go back to that story. At this point, it's 20 years of on-again, off-again feuding and teaming between the Bicycle Brothers. I think they were in the last Summer Adventure Tag League together. So that is a lot of Saito's year, and you see him in this match, and he's the lowest ranked of the 9 wrestlers. It's very clear that he's not on the level of those main event guys, but he's still a very competent and very skilled pro wrestler, and he has this amazing story throughout most of this year, and then November of 2001 rolls around, and he meets a man by the name of Milano Collection AT, and things do not go very well for him.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing about him being the bridge, and it's kind of similar in a lot of ways to someone we'll be talking about a little later in Naoki Tanizaki, because Naoki Tanizaki was the bridge between T2P and Toryumon X.
Yes, yeah, that's a very good point. So this is a really big match. Mike, did you rewatch this for this podcast, or are you going off memory here?
I rewatched this for the podcast.
All right. I had not seen this match in many years.
Yeah, and we're very lucky that for this kind of show that they actually had this match pretty much in full. This is, if you're looking for something else that's on the show, if you're wondering why M2K, why are they subbing in Darkness Dragon versus having in Susumu Mochizuki. Susumu defended the NWA World Welterweight title in the match before this against Ricky Marvin on this Corkin show.
A match that I would recommend if you have not seen.
Yeah, one of those really good ones. And this is just one of those matches that, at least for me, with this, the big takeaway for me on this is this very much up until the last 3 or 4 minutes is a Dragon Kid match. So the falls were Magnum Tokyo, Darkness Dragon, Penshima very early when he gets caught with the Darkness Buster. I think it was after all this stuff. I can't read my notes because it was a lot of K-ness and Mochi's teamwork that led up to it, and then that was at 14-17, and then Magnum Tokyo defeated Yasushi Kanda after pretty much Seikigun just murdered Kanda for 2 minutes, but he finished him off finally with the AV Star Press.
Yeah, so in the same way that if you look at a match like 830-03, where you have those 4 units in there, and that's a much more famous match, and you have Shima, you have Mochizuki, you have Magnum, and you have Milano as the leaders of their 4 respective units, and those 4 steal the show in that match. That is a match built off of aces, and those aces came to play. This is a match where you have Shima, Mochizuki, and Magnum as your clear leaders. But rewatching this, I was so taken aback by the number twos of their units, of Suwa, of Dragon Kid, and of Darkness Dragon. I thought those three were the three best in this match. And while we'll talk about Darkness Dragon in just a second, it should be noted, you and I were both very critical of Dragon Kid 2 weeks ago, talking about how rough around the edges he was in 1999, and although he was being pushed as the face of Toryumon very early, he was not ready for that role. By 2001, he has that crispness that we would come to expect from a big Dragon Kid match.
Yeah, like if we were going to like put this on a timeline, not dissimilar to how Diamante really progressed over 2 years. I think that's not an unfair comparison to make there, Kiss.
No, that timeline certainly matches up. That's something I hadn't really thought about, but yeah, it took them a while to get going, because we see Diamante in August of 2019, and I would say once we come back from that prolonged COVID hiatus, once we start resuming shows with fans in July of 2020, that's when you really start to see Diamante take steps forward, not too dissimilar from Dragon Kid, who gets hurt in April of 1999, and then by the time he comes back in the new year, he's a much better wrestler, still rough around the edges, but by August of 2000, he has that great match with Suwa. So yeah, that timeline, I don't know if there's a science behind it, if there's a way that wrestlers operate to where that is just the amount of ring time they need, but that timeline actually matches up incredibly well.
Yeah, and you brought up like Suwa and Dragon Kid. That's a big storyline, at least between the Seikigun and Crazy Max side, because this is almost a year to the date of their Mask versus Hair match that in 2000, which was, as you mentioned, Dragon Kid's big coming out party in a way. But it's interesting how, like, in this first match, like, if anything, this is like the prototype. You start off with the big aces, then it's the number twos, then it's the threes, which really lets Don Fuji just beat up on some scrubs, really. Because Kanda, like, the other person that took me back, is like Kanda really, out of everyone out of M2K, feels very different now than he did in 2001. But, you know, Don Fuji was having his way for everyone in this match.
Yeah, if you watched the February Korakuen show and you're a newer Dragongate fan and you didn't totally get the M2K thing, it's a little bit like I saw Bad Religion live last year, and they were phenomenal because they're Bad Religion, but they're still dudes in their 60s. They don't have the gripping impact that they would have 20 or 25 years ago. If you watched M2K in February of 2022, that Korakuen Hall match they had, and you went, oh, this is fun, you know, Kanda's got his crazy hair, and Mochizuki and Susumu are doing their thing, and then you flash back 20 years prior to this match, you realize, oh, these guys were stone cold killers. There's a reason that all of 2001 is Crazy Max versus M2K. That's the feud that carries this promotion for the entire year. M2K is so integral to Crazy Max becoming what this promotion was known for so long. They were the perfect foil for them because they were so rough around the edges, whereas, you know, whereas Mochizuki is their leader and he's a vicious, hard-kicking guy. Shima's the Crazy Max leader, and he's a pretty boy. He does his flips and whatnot, even with the muscle of Suwa, Taru, and Fuji behind him. M2K was that necessary contrast to toughen up Crazy Max a lot of the time, and you see their interactions here are, you know, no disrespect to the Seikigun team, but to me, this is an M2K versus Crazy Max match that just so happens to have Magnum, Dragon Kid, and Ryo Saito in it at times.
But I mean, there were like points in this, like where when Dragon Kid went wild in this, like it was just like, oh, you could fast forward this 21 years, and it's like oh, Dragon Kid's revving up. And it was something that like you really see like the progress, at least from like 2 weeks ago, watching Japanese Landing versus the first ever of these matches, and a match that Seikigun did not win the UWA Trios title before this. The titles were dominated mainly by Crazy Max, but it was kind of a little bit of back and forth with M2K when Toryumon brought them in. So like this was like the big moments for the unit really was coming that way, and it felt very much so that like it was something that like Dragon Kid did the heavy lifting, as has to be the case with a lot of Magnum Tokyo matches, but then Magnum came in and just like found ways to murder poor Kanda.
Yeah, if you know, towards the finish, it's not a very big Magnum match, but all of a sudden the pinfall needs to be made, and Magnum Tokyo's right there in front of the camera, ready to make that pinfall. But without Dragon Kid, who again was excellent in this match, Dragon Kid was outstanding. Saito pulls his way to a degree. Magnum, like we talked about, the best run of his career was the first tour of Toriyama Japan, the last week of January into the first week of February '99. That's Magnum Tokyo's peak. I don't need to retread that. I didn't think he was any good in this match, but Saito and Dragon Kid certainly did what they could for the Seikigun side.
And hey, it's something like, if you thought we were being a little bit hyperbolic, compare the reactions to the landing to now. Even like in front of the crowd, Magnum Tokyo feels like less of a star than he did 2 years before.
Yeah, no, it's very much. I mean, the crowd. It's a fun crowd to watch because I don't know if it's just the way the lighting was in Corkin. I don't know if it's just because we have such high quality footage on the Dragongate network, but I felt like I was able to make out a lot of faces in the front few rows of Corkin Hall in this show. And the things that they were really responding to was Shima, Mochizuki, and then a lot of the Darkness Dragon versus Dragon Kid stuff, which is a feud that would obviously progress. We'll talk about their mask versus mask match at some point on one of these shows before K-ness retires. But that's the stuff that it seemed like the crowd was really gravitating towards, and Magnum was there. I will say, this did make me want to revisit some of Sua's greatest hits, because I really thought Sua was unbelievably good in this match.
Jeez, his John Woo that he does.
To start the match, it's he hits Darkness Dragon with a John Woo on the apron, and it is phenomenal. It is such a great way to kickstart things.
Yeah, and this is something that it's worth talking about, like this match in a context, because as you mentioned, it really became Crazy Max versus M2K, and Crazy Max as the baby faces just in concert of that. So you needed to have Seikigun in there so you would be able to at least have Crazy Max act like tweeners. But Sua is someone that, like, every time I watch like classic Sua matches, it's something that, like, it's clear that when Dragongate happened, Sua was not going to stick around. Like, it was very, very clear that, like, and things said after the fact and who shows up where, that was not going to last for a long time. But really, like, 99 through 2004, and really 2000 through, like, I know Sua got injured during that time as well. It was a lot of fun. Like, Sua is just like a different kind of character that, there's really no equivalent to him on the modern roster.
No, I was trying to think about that. If Sua came along now, if he is born 20 years later, if he's the age of, SB Kento or a Kikuta or whoever, he probably has even more success in modern day Dragongate than he did in Toriyama. This is a guy who was a UDG champion by the end of his run and was obviously incredibly successful in Crazy Max. But you think about him now on a roster with Shun Skywalker and with Big R Shimizu and with a guy like Kota Minoura who works really well against bigger guys. I mean, he's probably, and I don't mean this as a slight to him, because, I'm critical of him, but for the most part, I enjoy his work. He's probably just a better version of Kai. That's the 2022 equivalent.
I guess, because he is a little bit bigger. Like, he's not noticeably bigger, but it's something that, like, you have him against Dragon Kid, and you're like, oh, now Sua looks really big. But you have him up against someone like Don Fuji, looks like a monster in comparison to everyone else in this match. Like, just, it's something that I wonder with, like, Sua, with obviously the stuff he was not very interested in, they made kind of public afterwards, the whole social dance wrestling thing. I wonder if he ends up in Dragongate. I don't know if he does.
He is, yeah. Well, what would be his best landing spot? Because I don't think he would fit it in modern day Noah. I don't wish modern day All Japan on my worst enemy, but I don't know if he's a New Japan guy. I do think this would be his best spot, because outside of the Natural Vibes entrance, which doesn't bother me, and undercard comedy matches, this promotion's far less goofy now than it was in 2003.
Yeah, I just get like a feeling that I could see him doing like that Big Japan 01 kind of stuff.
That's true.
He gives off that kind of vibe, and it's not like a sleazy vibe, but I could see him in there with like Yuji Okabayashi and Daisuke Sekimoto and Strong BJ. That makes sense to me in a way, that, because I do agree with you, Noah, DDT, All Japan. DDT may be entering the dojo now with who's running the dojo now, I could see. but I don't know. Big Japan just makes a lot of sense to me.
While we're doing a brief pit stop on DDT, I have not had a chance to see the most recent Shuji Kondo match that has made tape, which was he and Harada against Jun Akiyama and Tetsuya Endo. I will be watching that. But if you have Wrestle Universe, the January 30th Cork and Hall DDT show of Takashita and Yuki Ono against Harada and Shuji Kondo, I cannot recommend enough. I went 4.25 stars on it.
It's something where like I just need someone just to give me a comp tape of Kondo there, and I'll watch it. I do have a Wrestle Universe account because I'll watch Tokyo Joshi. I just don't ever have the urge to go click on the DDT side or the Noah side, to be quite honest.
I love cherry picking through DDT stuff. Noah, I'm at a real love-hate with, but when I love Noah, it's great. But Shuji Kondo and DDT has been very good so far, so I would recommend that if you have not checked it out.
So before we move on to your match case, the post match is worth talking about because it just turns out to outright mayhem. Basically, everyone gets unmasked. Dragon Kid and Darkness Dragon go at it. Darkness Dragon unmasks him. Then we have someone come in and unmask him who is wearing a Darkness Dragon mask and a pair of Adidas track pants. It's Shima, and they immediately, like, it just turns into like an insane brawl that, like a lot of Toryumon when he was around, Ultimo has to come in his resplendent Toryumon 2000 Project t-shirt and say, "Simmer down, kids."
It's a tremendous post-match angle. It's a great match. I feel like perhaps I slighted it by taking shots at the Seikigun side, but it's a match that I would go 4.25 on. I think it holds up. They would obviously improve on this in the summer of 2002 with the match at World and then the match the next week. Those, I think, are a little bit better. And then by 2003, you have that infamous four-way trios match. But for this being the first style of match like this to make tape in this promotion, they hit the ground running. It's a great match. It's a really great Darkness Dragon performance. Again, if you're looking to familiarize yourself with more K-ness, Darkness Dragon, Makoto type stuff, this is one of the matches that is absolutely essential viewing because you see in a match with so many guys and so many stars with Shima and Dragon Kid and Mochizuki and Magnum, you see Darkness Dragon stand out from the crowd. He's able to do stuff that makes him memorable, and it is a very, very fun match.
Yeah, I'd go 4.25, and again, a lot of that is based off of the seconds work. Suwa and Darkness Dragon and Dragon Kid in this were really, really fun to watch. But Case, you jumped ahead to basically the last era of K-ness, and you picked like the match that started the last era of K-ness. So how about you intro this?
Yeah, I didn't do this intentionally, but they're memorializing two K-ness units on his road to retirement. They did M2K in February. They're doing the Jimmyz in March. And while this is not a match where K-ness wrestles for the Jimmyz, it is the match that makes him a member of the Jimmyz. The unit disbands match from August 16th, 2015. This is Dangerous Gate. It is on the Dragongate network. This match is mostly in full. They cut out maybe the first 5 or so minutes, but it's a 30-minute match and we get most of it on the network. So if you haven't seen it, pretend I didn't say that. You'll think the match is in full. It is Naruki Doi, Yamato, Cyber Kong, K-ness, and Problem Dragon versus Genki Horiguchi, Jimmy Susumu, Ryo Jimmy Saito, Jimmy Kanda, and Mr. QQ, Naoki Tanizaki, and Mike.
Hey, that's not his full name. I'll say his full name from memory once, and we'll just call him Naoki Tanizaki for the rest of this. Mr. QQ, Tanizaki Naoki, Toyonaka Dolphin.
I think a lot about, I'm very happy with this podcast. I'm very happy with a lot of the content we do. I think back to around this time last year, we were talking about a Gran Hamada match, and I said Silver King and his partner El Texano, and you very, very nicely slid under the radar. Oh, it's El Tejano. And for some reason, that killed my confidence. And if I'm not locked in 100% on somebody's name, I will omit that name as much as I can.
I mean, I just wanted to say the full name once because how insane it was. I didn't mean to correct you that time, but
no. Well done. I disrespected the name of Naoki Tanizaki, etc., and I did not mean to do that, as he is a wrestler that I miss greatly. He's over in Dove Pro now. Did you see? I tweeted out on the Open Voice Get account today the Dove Pro 6-man that he is wrestling in a few days.
No, I didn't because my mind was consumed by Codyism of chaotic characteristics.
Was there a bigger story in wrestling than a Dove Pro card announcement today? My bad, Mike.
Okay, let me see this right here. Okay. We got Brother Yashi, Tetsuya Goto, and Oji Shiba, who is striking a face in his photo, versus Naoki Tanizaki, Yun Masaoka, and Kohei Kinoshita. That is Into the Pit 2.
If somebody can get us Dove Pro footage, this show airs on it takes place on February 22nd. I imagine most Dove Pro shows are kind of an eyes wide shut deal where you're allowed to attend, but you're not allowed to talk about it afterwards. But if this makes tape, somebody please send it to me. I would really like to see that match.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Did they just... Okay, for a second I thought they just lifted OG's photo from the Dragongate K-Aura site from a long time ago. I still think that is his old PR photo. And I have not seen Naoki Tanizaki recently, but is he rocking a pompadour now? Or is that just how his long hair is puffed up a little bit?
I haven't seen a very recent picture of him, but yeah, he's always had eccentric hair, but he's really going for something right now.
Bless his heart.
Yeah, that's a good-looking match. So, Mike, let's flash back again to August of 2015. Jimmyz versus Mad Blankey. I have a ton of transcriptions from the old iHeartDG website that I will read in just a second to kind of contextualize this match because it's newer. I looked, unfortunately, even with the Internet Wayback Machine and going to Jay's old Toryumon USA tripod website, I could not get the archives for July and August of 2001, so I wasn't able to fill in the gaps with the stories there, and I didn't have time today to really dig into those results and kind of contextualize that three-way trios match more. But all you need to know is it was the first time that match had aired in that style on Toryumon TV. For this match, we have a lot of context I'd like to go over because I think it adds to this match. But when you think of August of 2015, what comes to mind?
Well, this is kind of the big show that changes everything.
Yes.
But I don't think that we are going to completely just scare people by saying this. Mad Blankey loses this match. This is the second time ever that a heel unit has lost a disbands match. So everything is kind of adrift after they leave the ring. And then in the main event, Shingo Takagi defeats Masada Yoshino, immediately tries to expel Sachi Hoko Boy from Monster Express. Instead, the rest of Monster Express said, "No, we're not kicking him out here." He's like, "Well, then I'm done. Tozawa, you're coming with me." Tozawa's like, "No, I like my friends. I don't want to leave them there." And then like he looks over and T-Hawk, who's been adrift, is like, "All right, T-Hawk, we're teaming here." So this was like a big reset, this show. But like this time period, I mean, summer of 2015. My God, you have We Are Team Veteran disbands, you have Millennials disbands, you have the Zombie Veterans, you have the Special Emergency Doi Darts. Everything was happening over like a 4-month period this year.
Yes, that's exactly it. So I'm going to read some promos here that illuminate all of what you just said. It's nice that we're talking about this match because you think about what we've talked about so often with the heel lineage and the way these units worked out. It's really, this is the end of Mad Blankey, and then RED, Antias, Berserk. I look at it as all one giant package, even though the leaders and the members change so often throughout those years. And now I look at Z-Brats as a new entity as well. So this is really spanning the modern history of Dragongate. This is a very important match to understand where we are now in 2022. Would you agree that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, just because in 15 minutes things reset. And by the end of the show, and really, I would say up there like Gate of Destiny, it's all the reshuffle about what's going to be the new heel army all that stuff there. But then you have a through line from this date in 2015 all the way to the present with nearly everyone involved in this match.
So let's go to December 3rd, 2014, something Mike just referenced. Doi Darts time in Korakuen Hall. And Naruki Doi does his annual Doi Darts. They set up that match. And then in an unprecedented move, Doi brings out a second Doi Darts wheel And he says, and this is a quote from iHeartDG in the Wayback Machine, that Doi explained that Mad Blankey has had some bad luck lately. Hulk left to create Diehards. Himself and KZ were out with serious injuries, and that was also BB Hulk's fault. Last month, Team Veteran was forced to disband. The blame for that falls squarely on the shoulders of BB Hulk, so you sense a reoccurring theme here. So to help bolster the ranks, whoever was hit on this board would join Mad Blankey. And it was all of the unaffiliated members. It was your lower roster guys, like your Stalker Ichikawas and your Yuga Hayashis at the time, and then it was the Team Veterans unit that had disbanded in November of 2014. So Shima, Mochizuki, Fuji, Dragon Kid, although he was in Die Hards at that time, maybe, Gamma, and K-ness. And what happens here in the second Doi Darts, if we were going to make a greatest moments in Dragongate history compilation DVD, it's going to be Mochizuki versus Shingo, Blood Generation versus Do Fixer from World 2005, Unit Disbands 2020, and I don't know if I could get any further on this list without mentioning Osaka 06 and K-ness and Don Fuji being a hit on this Mad Blankey wheel.
So the thing about the wheel is that, yes, it is a circle, but unlike the other versions of Doi Darts, everyone's slice of the pie is a lot different. Like Stalker Ichikawa might as well have had a line long enough in kanji or hiragana to write Hollywood Stalker Ichikawa on it. And then other people on it, they had like a reasonable one. But the biggest piece, by far, like take up like a third of the board, was Asaka Zenroku. And it was something that the look on Naruki Doi's face when Shima and Gamma were drafted as one, because there's 3 darts here. They drafted them as one. It might have been the happiest day in Naruki Doi's life.
I rewatched this in December because I was going through some old Doi Dart stuff just because I was sad they weren't doing it this year. The ovation in Korakuen Hall when Shima and Gamma are hit on this board is one of the all-time great reactions. It is unbridled joy from all 1,800 people in that room. They are all on the same page, and they are all in love with the fact that Osaka 06 ends up on this board, but they are not the only ones. Don Fuji is hit, and K-ness is hit, and it leads to the first 5 months. And I forgot that they were in Mad Blankey for as long as they were, but 5 months of the veteran zombies being in Mad Blankey. At Dead or Alive 2015, they are all exiled, although K-ness very quickly rejoins the ranks. He has that match. Do you remember the Akira Tozawa versus K-ness Bravegate match from 2015?
Of course I do. Of course I do. It might be K-ness's last great singles match.
That you know what? That's an interesting. That probably is. I remember that match being good, and I wanted it to be better. I would probably enjoy it more now with lower expectations. I need to go back and rewatch that. That's a great point, though. That's probably the last great K-ness singles match. I can't think of another one.
Yeah. And the real fun thing about the zombie veterans were that most of them just kind of like adapted to it. Like K-ness just started wearing yellow. Gamma and Shima, they put on a little bit of face paint, but they basically wore the black and yellow. But Don Fuji came out looking like Punch Tomonaga's uncle, and it was amazing. Because at this time, Punch Tomonaga basically wore a, I'm trying to think of the proper phrase for this, a Hawaiian-style t-shirt or Hawaiian-style button-down shirt that was black and yellow flowers all over it. And basically, Don Fuji wore the exact same thing, including the sunglasses and the eye black. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was really good stuff. So now we go to July 2nd, 2015, subsequently the first Dragongate show I ever reviewed for VoicesWrestling.com. The main event of that show, this was Generation Gate 2015. It was 3 of the Big Six, Tozawa, Shingo, and BB Hulk, versus the new generation of Eita, T-Hawk, and Big R Shimizu. And after the match, they're hyping up Kobe World 2015. T-Hawk's about to take on Masada Yoshino, and T-Hawk makes the mistake of saying Naruki Doi's name. And out comes Doi, and here's where I will read from iHeartDG because I thought some of Doi's promos here were just outstanding. Doi says he was here to make T-Hawk regret casually bringing up his name. As for World, he wondered if T-Hawk could even handle being in the main event. It was the biggest show of the year. There would be 10,000 fans there. He didn't think T-Hawk would even make it to the ring. He would look out of the curtain and his legs would quiver and his knees would buckle. But that was a story for another day. The real reason he was out here was to talk about the August Korakuen. It's called Scandalgate, and he knew just the salacious thing that should happen there. The end of the Millennials. He challenged him to a match. Everybody knows that the only 3 Millennials worth anything are T-Hawk, Eita, and Flamita is in Mexico. So who from the army of little kids would they pick as their partner? T-Hawk was dumbfounded at the suddenness of this challenge. Doi said that while he fucking hates Tokyo, he fucking loves Scandalgate, so he couldn't wait for this. T-Hawk pointed to Mondai, Ryu, and Punch Tamanaga, noting that Doi and Yamato didn't exactly have the strongest partners either. Eventually, he agreed, but only if the existence of Mad Blankey was also at stake. Doi flatly refused, but T-Hawk accused him of being afraid and got the crowd to chant it at him. Doi dismissed them all as a bunch of kindergartners, but did eventually relent and accept. The match was about to be made official when Yamato interrupted, and here's where the Jimmyz come into play. Because Yamato said, if Mad Blankey was suddenly at risk of being forced to disband, shouldn't the unit that has lived long past its expiration date also be brought in? He called out the Jimmyz. Yamato said the only people who cared about the Jimmyz were packs of unmarried 30-year-old women. He got so carried away with his burial of the Jimmyz that he said that himself and the other millennials would, before catching himself and realizing that was an error. Horiguchi was quick to capitalize, saying that he couldn't be a millennial because he was over the age of 30 years old. All of this talk about disbanding units, yeah, the Jimmyz were nearly 4 years old. They were the longest tenured unit in Dragongate. Maybe they were only cheered on by unmarried 30-year-old women, but they don't back down from a challenge, and they accept it. Due to the serious nature of the stipulation, there will be special rules for this match. All members of a team have to be pinned or submitted for that team to lose, and the first team to have all members eliminated would have their unit disband. What a phenomenal angle this was.
Yeah, and Naruki Doi is someone, like, Naruki Doi's heels work, like, I would rush to get the translations immediately afterwards, just because, like, I could tell, it's like, this guy is just on another planet, and how much he hates Tokyo became an occurring thing where every time when they're about to do his Nara Homecoming show, he would not sign autographs as being a heel member for so long. He's just like, guess what, Tokyo, you suck so much that you can't get autographs. You know who gets autographs? The greatest town in all of Japan, Nara. And I will sign autographs everywhere. Do you know last time people were sitting out the door waiting in line to get their Naruki Doi photographs? I think I've seen some of you ugly people there trying to pass yourself off as a native of Nara just because you want your Naruki Doi autograph. It just was awesome stuff there. Really kind of hit the nail on the head of T-Hawk in a lot of ways there.
Oh, Mike, it gets worse. Wait until we get to August, because on that August 6th Korakuen Hall show, and I really, really wish this was on the Dragongate Network. I don't understand why nothing before 2017 is up there, because I don't know of any ownership changes in footage that would have occurred. Do you, Mike?
No, I mean 2017 is when they started the network, I think. Maybe a little bit after.
The tail end of that year, because I remember watching Champion Gate 2018 on the network.
Yeah, so I think that's why. I mean, like, the weird thing about all this is that for the longest time, Gaora has had multiple on-demand services, like including like subscription based, like that you would pay. I think it was like 500 yen a month, and if you were already a Gaora subscriber, you would get like this archive of stuff. So stuff is digitized. They just haven't put it up.
Yeah, 2015 is far enough away now to where I'd really like to revisit all of this footage, and I have some of it sitting around on my laptop, but it's just not the same. I pay for the Dragongate Network. I'd like to be able to watch all of this stuff there, because this Mad Blankey versus Millennials versus Jimmyz unit disbands match is absolutely insane. It ends up with Doi and Yamato against T-Hawk, against Ryo Saito. Saito gets drugged to the back of the venue by K-ness, leaving T-Hawk in there for Yamato and Doi. They pin him. They end the Millennials. And as I take a deep breath here to try to gather my breath, I will read the post-match promo from Doi once again, whereas he says, and of course this is translated from iHeartDG, Doi said, "There was nothing left to say. They won fair and square. The Millennials were done. Fans should hit the merch booth and buy what was left of their merchandise. Not that anyone did before. There was plenty of it left, and the company would probably have to make them buy it back themselves. Starting tomorrow, he expected to see all of the Millennials with short black hair in simple black trunks. Doi then turned his attention to the Jimmyz. Just where did Saito get up and run off to in the latter stages? Saito said he knew damn well where he went. His teammate pulled him from the ring and dragged him all the way to the merchandise table in front of all of those leftover millennials' goods. Doi said since Saito couldn't even be bothered to finish the match, that should be the Jimmyz disband today too. They argued a bit until Doi proposed another unit disband match. Saito said that the Jimmyz have climbed a ton of mountains in their 4 years together and that this was just one more. If Doi wanted an all-out war, he's got it. However, this time it would be 5-on-5, one fall to a finish. 5-on-5 means Mondai Ryu would have to take part. Doi wasn't having any of this. Under those rules, Mon-chan would have been beaten in like 10 seconds and all of it would be over. The match would have to be under the same survival elimination rules as today. Saito began to set the match for the September Korakuen, but Doi stopped him. This wasn't going to wait until next month. It was going to happen next week, August 16th in Ota City. Mr. Otaku would end another unit. Saito wondered how he was Mr. Otaku if he lost last year and lost twice to Shima in that building. Doi promised to show him, and the match was set for Dangerous Gate. So, Mike Spears, that is how we got here.
Yeah, God, I remember that go by the merch line very, very... So, you know, some things just get lodged in your head. Doi saying, oh, you have to go buy that before they make the wrestlers buy the merch back. Ice cold Naruki Doi. God, so cool. And yeah, just like it's something with Doi as a heel. Like, there are very few, like, being a microphone intensive promotion. I don't think, like, because Shingo got different responses a heel in Berserk, but I don't think there's anyone who came across as both as charismatic and also so spiteful and hateful as Naruki Doi did during this Mad Blankey run.
Yeah, I don't totally buy into all of the up until 2017. Then it's a different discussion, but I don't buy into a lot of the Shingo as a heel was bad for Dragongate because I just never saw the business dip to any way that would make me believe it. But we can look at it now and we can understand that Doi was clearly a more effective heel given the tone of this promotion, because promos like this, although he did obliterate an entire generation of talent, they were so entertaining that you just have to look the other way.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that was like one of those things about T-Hawk, and if we ever do a alternative history of T-Hawk, constantly having him in the position where you have such effective heel speakers as Shima, because like something that happened here that popped in my head here, Shima lost the cage match in 2015 as a member of Mad Blankey. Like 2 weeks after he got his front teeth knocked out, he got his head shaved, and T-Hawk was about to leave the cage. He's like, you haven't taken a piece of my hair yet. And he basically called out T-Hawk, who was on the royal road to be at Kobe World. He basically said, like, you need, for lack of better words, you need to nut up, T-Hawk. And it was like one of those things, I'm like, damn, no wonder T-Hawk doesn't like talking now. Because it was like 10 minutes of Shima berating him in the ring.
Yeah, he never really stepped up to the plate, though. That's the issue. I mean, I at that point, you look back, they gave T-Hawk so many chances to become one of the guys, and he just did not have it in him. And I was a big T-Hawk advocate at the time, but he was not the guy.
I mean, we know what would have taken. It would have had to happen in IWRG, not to bring that up again, that promotion up again. But that's how you could have got T-Hawk to show some fire, because I was always the complaint about him.
Yeah, no, T-Hawk and IWRG was very, very entertaining, as was Mad Blankey versus the Jimmyz unit disbands match. One of the all-time great, all-time important unit disbands matches there's ever been. What are we now? Almost 6.5 years from this match. Mike, how do you think it holds up?
I think it is still in my top 3, I would say. I think Toryumon versus RED is the best disbands match they've ever had, and it's going to take something to beat that. I don't know if I like this one more than Berserk versus Diehards versus Monster Express from 2016. That's the one I compare it to, really. But they're two completely different style matches. Like, that's the thing. And there's something about this that I like the cut they have up on the network, because you start off with a lot of Naoki Tanizaki, and Tanayan looks awesome in this match. And it's one of those things that, like, you know, it's like, dang, I would love to see him back. And I know it's not going to happen most likely, But that was like a big takeaway here. K-ness getting his moments here. Monday Ryu before he broke his neck. And, I mean, for me, like, I don't miss the Jimmyz because I feel like since I lived through all the Jimmyz in a way, but I miss Mad Blankey. I miss that combo of Mad Blankey. Like, Cyber Kong looking like an absolute monster, like as a Cyber Kong monster in this match. Like,
And
did you feel the
go ahead.
same? I was gonna say, did you feel the same way about Mad Blankey versus Jimmyz? Like, I don't miss the Jimmyz,
No.
but I miss Mad Blankey.
No, even by the time that Berserk versus Jimmyz match, where Jimmyz disbands, is that Dangerous Gate 2017? Is that on the same show where Mochizuki beat Yamato?
I think so, because this was the match that a group of Nate fans were really mad that Shingo Takaki introduced barbed wire.
Interesting. Okay, let me double check this really quick, because I want to make sure I get this right as I tell what's a half interesting story. Yeah, so that is Dangerous Gate 2017, which is Shima and Dragon Kid versus Big R, Shimizu, and Kotoka for the Dreamgate belts. It's the losing unit must disbands no DQ match between Berserk and the Jimmyz, and then Mochizuki versus Yamato. And quite frankly, in September of 2017, I had such little patience for Dragongate, and I remember knowing that I should really care that the Jimmyz are done, and knowing that I should care that Mochizuki is now the Dreamgate champion, but it wasn't connecting with me. And so I would really like to go back and rewatch that Berserk versus Jimmyz disbands match to know if I feel better about it now. And I know I loved it at the time, but I think I would like it even more with a clearer head. So I need to rewatch that. But yeah, the February 2016 Berserk Diehards Monster Express match, that's as good as it gets for unit disbands matches.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I think, like, other than the fact that, like, this is the legit heel disbands loser match, like that there is like that with it. I will say though that, like, when this match heated up, it really heated up, like, especially for like the backslide times. Like, as soon as get like Genki Horiguchi, like, it's something that like makes you take a step back and go like, God, there are very few wrestlers in this generation who have a command of the audience like Genki Horiguchi has.
It's absurd. You're really dealing with masters of the craft in this match, because you have Horiguchi, who I put over any possible time I get. Horiguchi's phenomenal in this match. You have a series of moves, a finishing stretch, where Susumu pins K-ness, and those two are just playing off of their history to such a beautiful degree. And what they're doing is so simple, but it is so magnificent in the way they approach their section of this match. And then what really struck me here, just because it had been a minute since I had watched them team, the fluidness of Yamato and Naruki Doi as a tandem. One of the all-time great tag teams. I don't have an issue saying that. Their sample size is smaller than a lot of those teams that we would consider to be the all-time greats. Young Bucks, Holy Demon Army, Jumbo and Tenryu, Choshu and Yatsu, whoever else you want to throw in there, Fantastics, Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, even Speed Muscle. Yamato and Doi have a smaller resume than those teams do, but their output, their peak, is second to none. I mean, it's just marvelous, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those things that when you talk about Dragongate and Dragon System tag teams, like, you really have to start with Speed Muscle, and the question becomes Doyama versus Speed Muscle, really? And it's something that, like, just for, like, if you like look just through like their title defenses, they were insane matches. And then whenever they were in like matches like this, I mean, like, there's a reason they held off on Yamato getting turned on by Berserk so long, because him and Doi is like one of the best tag team wrestlers in wrestling history. Yamato is someone that, if you find the right person that he can gel with, it's magic, and that's what we got with him so much. And it was just something that was such a delight here. One fall that happens very early on in the match that I want to make sure we hit on, because we're going to probably talk about the after effects of this match after we conclude, is K-ness eliminating Naoki Tanizaki after box shots.
Yes, that's you know what, I didn't even put together in my mind of what comes in the very immediate future of Tanizaki, so you have the floor here.
So after this match, Mad Blankey loses, Jimmyz. You have the Nesca reunion. Of course, they've teamed together basically since MTK was a thing, so for off and on for 20 years. Of course, they reunited. And then the next week, they're like, oh, we're going to have our first ever 6-person Jimmyz train. It's going to be awesome. And during this, Naoki Tanizaki turns on them and immediately joins for Zerk.
I completely forgot it was that soon after this match. So bad job out of me, because that was not even on my radar in this.
Well, it's something that's really subtle. So the reason why Tanizaki was always the problem child in the Jimmyz. He always had problems with other Jimmyz. Like whenever they went combat mode, more often than not, it was due to something that Tanyan did or said. But he was incredibly insulted by the fact they would just welcome him in after he attacked a Jimmyz member with a box so violently in this match.
You know, the other thing that I like about the storytelling in this match, to go back to Yamato and Doi for a second, is, you know, Gabe and ROH tried really hard to get the Briscoes winning 2 straight falls and 2 out of 3 matches over, and the payoff just didn't work. One, because Gabe did it on a weird show. He did it in like Connecticut instead of doing it in New York. I'll never understand why he did that. But one of the things that Dragongate got over, at least with me to a really strong degree, was in these big elimination multi-man matches, you would end up with Doi and Yamato alive. They did that when they disbanded the Millennials, and they did that when they disbanded Diehards. And it's really interesting here to see the dynamic being Susumu versus Yamato and Doi, and the fact that Susumu was able to pin Doi in a phenomenal series of pins. And then it really stood out to me watching it this time around. And I've seen this match a few times since it happened, but watching it here, once Susumu pins Doi, Susumu and Yamato go into almost WrestleMania mode, where they really sit and let that reaction of the crowd sink in for a good 30-45 seconds, far longer a pause than you would normally see in Dragongate, and then they go on their phenomenal finishing stretch, which we can talk about now.
Yeah, this finishing stretch is something special. I mean, it's something with like Susumu and Yamato for like Yamato's later Dreamgate matches. Like him and Susumu had a really fun one, I want to say. Or no, I'm thinking about the Mochizuki match that happened right after Mochizuki beat Yamato for the title. But they do have good chemistry together. And just like the gruesome Jumbo no Kachis versus forearms that they were doing, there was there was one spot before Ryo Saito got eliminated I want to talk about just for a brief second, because this was so cool, was him going for the double cross into the Dojima Sleeper into the Ragnarok. Not the Ragnarok, the Galleria was really sick. But yeah, no, Yamato and Susumu Yokosuka, 2 great wrestlers, just having something that felt like that 45 seconds really mattered, because it was like, oh, there's going to be a finality here. We are either going to see a heel unit lose or the longest tenured unit currently in Dragongate lose. And, you know, I felt like that was like the right building to do it in too.
Oh, completely. I mean, everything works here. The chaos of August of 2015 is one of those things that will stick with me for a very long time. It has. We're 6 years after the fact, and I still think about this as one of the true hot periods of this promotion. And what we end up with here is at the finishing stretch, Yamato holds Susumu in kind of a full Nelson towards the ropes. K-ness pops up on the apron. He grabs a handful of powder. He goes to hit Susumu with it. Susumu reverses, puts Yamato in front of him. K-ness puts down the weapon that he was about to use. Everything slows down. Susumu and Yamato go back to their match, and then K-ness enters the ring. He drills Yamato with a face full of powder. The crowd erupts like the Beatles have just come out, and then Susumu is able to pin Yamato with the help of K-ness. They eliminate Mad Blankey once and for all.
Yeah, and it's not just the power attack. They immediately go do the big off the top
that's right.
Guillotine drop.
Yeah, the K-ness double team.
Yeah, it just was sick. And, you know, K-ness, like being the great worker he is, he pauses for the moment and he grabs even more powder, going like, I'm going to make this thing look great. And God, it does.
Oh, it's such a great finishing stretch. I mean, this is everything that you would hope for as a Dragongate fan, where you have this amazing match where bell to bell, there's these rich layers of storytelling, and you have Horiguchi relying on the backslide, you have Yamadoi running wild, you have Susumu doing his thing, you have all of this K-ness and Tanizaki stuff going on, and then at the very end of it, K-ness comes back together, years and years apart. Now one of the greatest tag teams in the history of the promotion has reunited. They take out Mad Blankey. It's just what this promotion does better than anything else. And that is, in a way, a good way to summarize both Mad Blankey and the Jimmyz, is that it's Dragongate at their absolute best in those certain ballparks. A fun-loving babyface unit, a dominant heel unit. Dragongate really got it right with those two. And in this disbands match, they hit every beat you would want them to hit.
Yeah, and this is why, like, right afterwards, everyone was like, this is the best disbands match they ever had. And of course, the two matches we mentioned afterward happened after this. So this was the high watermark for a while, and it's still one of those really special ones and some of the most intricate storytelling that Dragon Gate does. And the fact that they made a point afterwards, Case, I don't know if you have this note, that they had a big conversation about what K-ness's color would be in the Jimmyz because he couldn't be blue because that's Konda's color. It's like, well, I liked wearing yellow. Ginky got immediately very defensive and was like, yellow is my color. You know this from you know this from old times. And it's like, yeah. I guess I'll be pink. And it's like, well, you can't add Jimmy to your name. So he's like, well, I'll be Jimmy K-ness, JKS, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. I was like, oh yeah, that works. That works.
Yeah, K-ness turning into the Rob Van Dam of Dragongate. And then to add on to that, they set up in the post-match promo they did to headline Korakuen Hall the next month that Summer Adventure Tag League was Yamadoi versus Kineska in the main event. And I don't remember that match. I would have reviewed it. I guess I could look at my review at voiceswrestling.com. But they followed up with that, and then Kineska has their mini revival run, which is not as good as the original, but still pretty damn good.
Yeah, it was still really fun stuff at the end of the day.
So that is two of the more important matches in the history of K-ness. The three-way trios match from August of 2001, the first one Toryumon did that made tape. That is on the Dragongate Network, as well as the Dangerous Gate 2015 Mad Blankey versus Jimmyz Unit Disbands match. If you've never seen it, now you have to watch it with all of that context I just gave you. And if it's been a while since you've seen it, go watch it again. It is one of my favorite matches in Dragongate history.
Yeah, and we'll be dipping back in. We'll be talking about a lot of K-ness's big highlights throughout his career as we lead up into his retirement on April 7th. And I think it's about time for us to, we went a lot longer on this than I thought, but let's go through this very fun Kyoto show from the 11th. They'll be up on the network until the 18th. And my big takeaway was Kyoto is just a fun venue. There was nothing that hit as high as Korakuen for me, but, I thought that there was a lot of interesting stuff on the show. What was your big takeaway from the show in Kyoto?
We are a month and a half into Dragongate in 2022. We are a week away from Memorial Gate in 2022 as of the time we're recording this. I know that probably startled you, Mike, because it startled me because I just remembered that. But although we haven't had a big show this year, which means we haven't had any, go out of your way to see match of the year contender type matches, I will say Kyoto, February 11th, 2022. As of this show, I have a new match of the year in Dragongate. It was on this show. We'll talk about it when we get to it.
Really? Okay. I did not hit as high there. I had two matches that I was at 3 3/4, but nothing that finished up that high on that. Wow. Okay. Kyoto's showing out today. I'm just an interesting show, I would say. Very good lead up to, especially to what's going to be happening this week and coming up in Hakata. We opened up with High End versus Unaffiliated, Yamato, Benkei, and Keisuke Okuda versus Sachihoko Boy and the Hashi brothers. It was Yamato pinning Riki with a brainbuster in 9 minutes and 45 seconds.
I love whenever we get Sachihoko Boy on a random show like this, because maybe my memory is just serving me incorrectly, but I don't feel like he pops up on too many Kyoto shows. So I really liked seeing him in this. And although we've been a little bit critical of Okuda lately, and perhaps the rigidness of his style and his lack of progress since that big Bravegate run, he has excellent chemistry with the Hashi brothers. And so this was a match where I thought all 6 guys were able to do things that they do really well. And as a result, this was a very, very fun opener for me. This show got started off on the right foot.
The thing about this match for me, I went 3 1/4. I thought this was good fun. The thing that got me was, and maybe it's just me hyper-analyzing, but it seems like no one's selling for Riki Hashi at all now. And I was like, wow, did he mess up laundry one day that everyone's just like, oh, you could run into me for a solid minute? I'm not exaggerating. He did running shoulder tackles into Benkei for a solid minute, and Benkei did not budge in this match.
Yeah, the way Benkei is wrestling, and I think it's less about Riki Hashi, although now I'm dying to know if he screwed up laundry. I really wish we still had our dojo source that could have told us that. But it's they're doing something with Benkei. I feel like although he just had a Dreamgate shot in November, I think with the direction that the Dreamgate is headed, which I've been pretty upfront about, I think they're doing Kai to Shimizu. Shimizu's going to defend against Benkei, and then he'll lose it to, I think, Kota Minoura, but we'll see what happens. It seems like they're heating Benkei up because he's looked very, very dominant lately.
I mean, he's someone you could plug into for defenses, and as we've talked about, I don't think you're burning a matchup of Shimizu versus Benkei if that's the route you're going down. And any match against Benkei and Kai, you're not really kind of losing anything there, I would say. It's interesting, though, because like when they book him strong, you're like, oh, yeah, no, that they super care about him. And it's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But I don't know. We'll see how. I'm interested to see how things come out of Osaka, especially with that second cork in April with him.
Would Ben, at this point, would him turning heel be better, worse, or the same for him?
I mean, he wouldn't have to talk at all.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to talk now. He's in a unit with Yamato.
Yeah, and Yamato doesn't shut up, as we saw in the
notoriously.
As we saw in the segment that we'll get to in a second. But I don't know, like, he would add some. I don't think he solves Z-Brats' problems initially. Like, Z-Brats really need someone to eat fall, so it's not Hio all the time. But for him, it wouldn't hurt, but I don't see the thing that's going to really permanently get him out of being in the Benkei zone. I don't know what it is, unless he takes elocution classes.
I think a lot of talk within our bubble about Benkei and his position on the roster, it's all very overrated. Benkei is often pushed to a really high degree. I don't know where this talk about him just being left by the wayside comes from. I think he's now hit a point where he's not rising to our expectations, or I guess he's not rising to the level of expectations that you would expect from a former Open the Dreamgate champion. That's the way that should be phrased. I don't think our expectations are too high, and I still don't think Ben is meeting them. It's a him issue, but I would rather him write it out in high end than him turn heel. I don't like Benkei as a heel. I understood why they turned him in RED, but I did not like that run. I prefer him as a babyface, and for my issues with high end, I still prefer Benkei there.
Yeah, and my thing about Benkei is this thing from like, oh, they're hiding Benkei. I think they know what they have in Benkei. It's just, you know,
it's the Benkei zone. He's a firmly entrenched upper mid carder. He's a credible Dreamgate contender. It's not like he takes falls all the time.
No,
he's fine.
Rarely.
He's not. Again, you're right. He's not a record-setting Open the Dreamgate champion, but that's not the end-all, be-all for me. I think this talk of, oh, what are they doing with Benkei? You know, this guy's got to get heat up. He was cycled down. I don't think that's true. I think he's been pushed pretty regularly just without a title for a while now. But again, he had a credible Dreamgate defense in November where, you know, for as much as I hated that build, and Mike, you know, I hated that build.
Oh, I was with you.
The match turned out to be fine. They drew a decent house in Sendai. There were no issues with it because Benkei came across as a credible challenger, even if they shit the bed in every other city besides Sendai.
I have a theory about this. And, Case, you know what my mantra is about 2022?
What's that?
I'm working stiff. I'm not pulling punches.
Mike said some crazy shit before we started recording. I will not repeat it, but Mike is not only working stiff, Mike is working blue this year.
You can make it say like I said some things profaned. I said some very honest truths before we went on air, but Case was like, wow,
it was just shockingly honest. I couldn't believe it. But anyways, go ahead.
I think, and I am not saying this out of disrespect to people about this, I think that Benkei, for someone, if you're people that are just like watching big shows, which is totally in their right, and are watching like big matches, Benkei might be more appealing than someone like KZ. And if you look at the skill sets and how they're booked, Benkei's booked stronger than KZ a lot of the time. Like, I can't think of the last time that Benkei has lost a fall that wasn't like a title match. He does not lose falls. KZ will lose falls occasionally. But the big difference there is you can't really put KZ, and I know we pick on them a lot. I'm not trying to be mean here. You can't put KZ in New Japan and he would work there. You could put Benkei into New Japan and it works. So I think it's someone that's easily connectable for people who dip their toes in. And I think it's someone that you can easily slot him elsewhere with how he wrestles and his style and his intrinsic qualities. So he gets hyper focused there. Whereas I think that, I mean, he's, since losing the Dreamgate, he's had a Triangle Gate run. He's been booked really well. He's had Dreamgate shots. It's not like if Dragon Gate was done with Benkei, we would know they were done with Benkei, and that's none of the sort happening here.
You know, that Triangle Gate run, when it was him and Daya in Strong Machine J, is a really important thing to bring up, because just with the way that I think we remember things as viewers, that reign was cursed because it was a few months after, or I guess it was right after he lost the Dreamgate, because he lost the Dreamgate in December of 2019 at Final Gate, and then he won that Triangle Gate belt in late February, maybe it was March 1st of that year, but then COVID hit, and he went away for a while. And I remember doing this on the podcast going like, man, I feel like Benkei has been cycled down lately. Oh, wait a minute. He's opened the Triangle Gate champion. That reign just came at the worst time, and we kind of block it out of our memories. But he went from the Dreamgate belt to another title rather immediately. And to add on to the package of what you were talking about with Benkei there, you know, you're now listening to two guys, Mike and I, who wrote articles about how Benkei was the next ace of the promotion. And I will stand by all of those things that we wrote, because through that build of 2019, that is the way they were positioning him. Now, long term, there were issues that needed to be addressed. He hasn't exactly risen to the occasion since then. He hasn't helped his profile since losing that Dreamgate title in 2019. But we knew from his debut, through beating Pac, through losing to Naruki Doi in December of 2019, that was a guy pegged for main event status, and he succeeded in all of those quests that we put him on as fans. It's everything that's happened after the fact, 2020 onwards, where I don't think Benkei has lived up to the hype in the way that he should have.
Yeah. No, I don't think that those are unfair statements there. And yeah, no, I defend my article that I wrote then at the time, and the way things were booked, and the way that Pac walked out of All Elite Wrestling briefly because he was not going to do a clean job while champion. You know? It all lines up. So I'm fine for where he's at. He is not out of a picture here case, because immediately after this, we had the Triangle Gate tournament teams announced for the shows in across Fukuoka on the 20th. It's a doubleheader, the first one of the year. High end is Yamato and Benkei and Dragon Kid. Z-Brats is Hyo, BB Hulk, and Shun Skywalker. Dragon Gate Future is getting in all the action, the Hashi brothers and the Fujiwara. But the big thing happened here was Natural Vibes came out, because they were the only two teams that were announced at the time, KZ, UT, and Funky, and Jackie Funky Kamei. And I got to talk to Kamei here, because you can either be a short king or you can be something else. And he got really offended by Yamato calling him short. They started calling him stupid repeatedly, and Kamei just got fired up there.
I'm elated for this Triangle Gate tournament. We'll talk about this obviously next week. 4 great teams. I'm assuming the future team will lose, but it's the Hashis and Fujiwara, so you could also tell me they're going to win the whole thing, and I wouldn't really blink twice. Great lineup, should be great matches. This segment was a win. A lot of fun stuff here.
No misses here with this. Well, like any matchups that they could put together with these 4 teams, like there's not a sleeper on here. Like sometimes you get some that are going to be like, okay. No, this tournament has a whole lot going on for it. Next match was 2 unaffiliated teams. The former Masquerade team, Jason Lee and La Estrella, versus Eita and Yosuke San Maria. Estrella schoolboyed Maria after Eita just gave like one of the most ugly looking eye rakes. And this kind of was like a prolonged handicap match, because they kind of played back that YouTube digest match we were talking about last week.
Yes, so the story here that they're doing, and it seems like they're touring this in every town that they go in, is Eita and Maria are teaming. Eita wants no part of teaming with Maria. He'll antagonize her throughout the match. He'll oftentimes, as he did here, cost her the match, as La Estrella ended up pinning Yosuke Santa Maria here. And this will eventually, I'm sure, come to some sort of reconciliation. But right now, despite the affection that Maria is showing for Eita, and the fact that they are teaming together on shows, Eita is not having it.
Yeah, so prolonged angle there. Match 3, this was a lot of fun. Unaffiliated versus Z-Brats. Unaffiliated team, Ultimo, Strong Machine J, Takuma Fujiwara, and Ryofuda versus the Z-Brats team of BB Hulk, SB Kento, Shun Skywalker, and Diamante. SB Kento tapped out Ryofuda with the SB shooter. This was one of the matches I went 3 3/4 and almost went 4 on Ks.
If this match finishes in my Dragongate top 10, we are in for a very disappointing 2022. But as of right now, as of the date we're recording this, February 15th of this year, my Dragongate match of the year, I went 4 1/4 stars on this match.
All right, so you're half star higher than I am on this. This does not happen super often, Case. What put this match over the top for you?
Well, first of all, in an extremely on-brand sentence, Takuma Fujiwara and Diamante's chemistry is something that I need to see a whole hell of a lot more of. Those are two guys that, believe it or not, because they seem to work well with everybody, but those two guys work especially well together. Did their chemistry pop off the screen for you as well?
Yeah, I love the Z-Brats tandem. You know,
Oh my god, yeah.
Shun Skywalker's plugged himself in there. Just like prolonged heat on Fujiwara throughout this. Diamante was the highlight of it, but everyone looked awesome there. Like, I've really enjoyed Shun since he's turned heel. And you know what's one of the things that I kind of took a second? I was like, you know what? I'm very appreciative of this. I wanted to say that. Ultimo doing Ultimo stuff 2.5 years in. God bless him. I loved it. Ultimo is just going to do the same things. And you know what? I'm pleased each time. I did not think this would happen 30 months into his return to the Dragon system. But each time Ultimo's in there, I'm like, oh, he's going to do the spinning kick. He's going to do the head scissors, bulldog takeover. He's going to be doing all the things. And he does exactly what I think he's going to do. And it really pops me each time.
Yes, exactly. So you get this prolonged heat sequence on Fujiwara. He's selling his ass off. He's doing a tremendous job of it. And he makes a hot tag to Ultimo Dragon, who, for whatever reason this year, seems to be working a little stiffer than normal. And he runs through all of his spots, like you said. He takes on SB Kento, and I thought Ultimo and SBK look great together. He, of course, does his sequence with Diamante, where Diamante gets monkey flipped to the floor, and he is, with his hands to the top rope and his feet pointed at the air, all 6 feet of him make a perfect, he's standing straight up on the ropes. It was the bump Diamante took there was excellent. And then the match really breaks down. You have Strong Machine J in an environment where I thought he really thrived. He looked great against Shun Skywalker here. BB Hulk took issue with Ryofuda for a lot of this match. And then you end up with Fuda and SB Kento, where, again, Fuda taps to the SB shooter. This was just a dynamic, dynamite sprint. This is exactly what I was hoping for from this match. I thought all 8 guys were put in a position to do what they do really well, Strong Machine J included. I loved this match. A fantastic start to the smaller show circuit for Z-Brats.
Yeah, Fuda was someone that we've been wanting to see a little bit more of, but if you have him in an 8-person tag where he's maybe wrestling 2 or 3 minutes, he looks great. And it lets him highlight his positives here. So I thought that was a good use of him. And there's something about Strong Machine J teaming with Ultimo that he gets a little bit of his mojo back. I feel like
Showa style pro wrestling.
That's
Strong
it.
Machine J and Ultimo do really well together.
Yeah, get Shuichi Kondo after he's done teaming with Harada. That's a Dragongate team, if you ask me.
Yeah, there is something about Strong Machine J and Ultimo as a team where they bring out the best in each other. It's very nice. As somebody who's rooting for Strong Machine J, I don't know if it's ever gonna come together the way I want it to, but I'm rooting for him, and he tends to do his best work now when he's in there with Ultimo.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that. Match 4, we had the Open the Twin Gate champions. You still have a chance, Case. If you have not already tweeted at DG at Dragongate EN, we still have a chance up until. Actually, no, we missed that chance here. I was excited because it was like this, but it said up until 11:59 Japan time. So yeah, that was this morning. So did you tweet a tag team name for Daya and Yoshioka?
I cannot name anything. It's the one responsibility in life. I want to name I have very specific names for my children. God damn it, Case. My children picked out.
Child.
God damn. But tag team and unit names. Let's just say I couldn't do better than Z-Brats, so I wouldn't dare try to name Dragon Daya and Yuki Yoshioka.
I like the Dayas. I mean, they're the Dayas.
I want to do Daya Yuki or Yoshi. Yeah, no, it does. I'm not doing this. They're a great
Daya
tag team.
Yoshi. Daya
Thank
Yoshi.
you. Fucking
There we
shit,
go.
man. Thank you. We're at 90 minutes of the show. I'm gonna start cussing for some reason now. I don't know why that happened, but that's what's happening. They're a great tag team, and I look forward to their name.
Yeah, so they went up against Dragon Kid and Yasushi Kanda. So really, at that point, you're just getting guys on the card with this. And I thought that was really interesting. It was the Darkness Buster and Fog Splash on Kanda for the champions to win here. I thought it was kind of a fascinating story of like one team that's really come together and is gelling on all cylinders against two guys who don't team that much.
My only note here, I thought it was a fine match. One that certainly doesn't drag on. I think it's worth watching actually just because of how good this Daya and Yoshioka tag team is. But the twisting moonsault that Dragon Daya is doing off the back of Yoshioka is, they need an official move name for that because that is one of the gnarliest things that I have seen in some time.
Yeah, it's like stuff you would see Jack Evans do with Roderick Strong.
Yeah, that's a great comp. That's exactly what it is.
I mean, like, this is kind of like a Gen X tag team. Maybe Gen X is what... I can't time travel back to 11 a.m., so I can't submit that. That should have been their win there. But
Look, I would, I've said before, if I was building a wrestler, I would just use most of Austin Aries as a template. For as big of a headache as he is, if I was a WrestleMania weekend promoter, I'd be booking Dragon Daya and Yuki Yoshioka versus Aries and Strong. I would absolutely like to see that.
Yeah. I mean, Gen X versus Gen.
versus Gen X.
versus Gen X. Yeah. I was starting to think of a pithy way to say that. I liked seeing Daya and DK in there. Like, I know I've seen them against each other, like, during the Generation War and all of that, but it's just one of those things that's, like, first time they're in the ring against each other since Daya lost the mask. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah, it's something I would really like for this promotion to explore more as the year goes along.
Yep. We semi-main event, Natural Vibes versus Z-Brats, KZ and Big Boss Shimizu versus the Open the Dreamgate champion, Kai and Hyo. It was Shimizu over Hyo with the Big Boss press in 14:05, and I feel like it's pretty promising stuff between Kai and Shimizu leading into their match in Osaka.
Oh yeah, I have full faith in Shimizu that is going to be a really good match. I'm really excited about it because that's on a weekend. I'm going to try to watch both of those shows live, and I really think Shimizu versus Kai is going to deliver. So I'm looking forward to that. This match was 14 minutes. I thought it started pretty slow, but the last half of the match, with KZ going wild and with Shimizu and Kai banging into one another with such intensity, this became a worthwhile endeavor as well. Another really fun 3.25-star match.
Yeah, I went 3.5. I really was. I don't want to say taken aback, but I was really encouraged by that chemistry between Kai and Shimizu. Like you were saying, KZ has a very bad haircut, but he was very good in this match. And first time we got to see some Z-Brats crowd brawling. I've been trying to figure out what their new template is, other than Kai wants nothing to happen during Dreamgate matches. And I was interested to see we actually didn't get full interference, but we got some back and forth, and someone gave SB Kento a whip. Did you notice this? SB Kento now has a whip.
Did I? I was delighted by it.
Okay.
Let me ask you, as Mike once again tries to alienate the horny Dragongate audience, which, as we know, is the most vocal audience of Dragongate. Let me ask you, as we're 1 week away from Memorial Gate, and now that I think about it, I don't know when we're going to record next. We'll probably record later in the week next week, so count this as your Memorial Gate preview as well. Shimizu versus Kai, Dreamgate title. Who do you see walking away with the belt?
I think it's Kai still. I think they get him 2 keys and they get the belt off him maybe at that April Corkin or Dead or Alive still. My Dead or Alive idea still is alive, by the way.
Which is, to remind me?
Oh, it's Eita wins the cage and SB Kento wins the title in his hometown, so we get Eita versus SB Kento at Kobe World. Remember how cracked out that idea was?
Yeah, no, that is actually a phenomenal idea. That's what I love about this promotion right now is I feel like we have 2 totally different but totally realistic Kobe World main event possibilities, where I think they're doing Minoru versus Skywalker and you think they're doing SB Kento versus Eita, and both could very easily happen.
Yeah, no, it's all pretty exciting stuff. So that match is Champion Gate, though. The Dream Gate.
Oh shit, yes it is. I thought it was on the same show as the Twin Gate match at Memorial Gate, but it is not.
So I did not mention this. the former Masquerade, La Estrella, and Jason Lee made a challenge for Memorial Gate on the 23rd. Everyone was very polite. Yuki Yoshioka kind of jokingly was like, "Oh, you're shaking hands. I guess I should too." And he was like clearly laughing as he was doing so. So I think that's a strong defense. To be big. Estrella needs to step up. Parties coming out again for this. That's a big scenario for him.
Yeah, Diane Yoshioka versus Jason Lee and La Estrella is the exact type of match that I will lose my mind over. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, we all know what the question mark in that match is. The other three parts, we could pretty much in our minds think what this match could be, and it would be excellent.
I do have faith that Jason Lee and Dragon Diane Yuki Yoshioka can have a very good match. And in this spot, I'm going to trust Estrella too. I think that match could be really excellent.
I'm not writing off La Estrella. I will not write someone off in Dragongate. I just want to see him, take the steps. That's all I want to see, and this is a big step for him. And I think that'll be really kind of interesting to see how they do this match and see what other stuff we get out of Daioyoshi. I like the chemistry that they've shown, only teaming together really for less than a month. Like they just hit their 1 month anniversary case.
Yeah, that should be really good stuff.
Yeah. Main event, we had the unnamed trio, Naruki Doi, Kota Minoura, and Kaito Ishida versus Natural Vibes, Asumi Yokosuka, UT, and Jackie Funky Kamei. Kota Minoura won with a move I haven't seen him win before. It's called the Raz. It basically is a air raid crash variant that he did. I don't remember seeing him win a match with this move beforehand.
No, I was going to ask you this question. It looks like something Alex Shelley would do. So
Alex Shelley.
I'm a fan of it. But yeah, I don't remember ever seeing him win with this match either.
Yeah, so he pinned Minoura pinned Kamei with this in 12 minutes and 38 seconds. Great to see the chemistry from the Hot Boys immediately.
Oh, yeah, no, this trio is locked in. I mean, there's a lot that they could do here. Are you in agreement that whoever wins the Triangle Gates at Fukuoka, they're going to wrestle this trio of Ishida, Doi, and Minoura at Champion Gate?
I feel like because they would be recently named, and it just makes sense, really. I guess like Minoura is clearly positioned as number one in this group. That came out to Minoura's theme. He was announced last. He got the win. Doi is playing number 2 here, so they're going to try to go full court press with this. I feel like out the gates.
And I think they can lose, especially given what we just saw with Z-Brats, where they lost in Corkin, and sure enough, they show up here and they're fine. Nothing happened. They already look strong. They're already credible. Everything's okay. You could beat that Minoura, Ishida, and Doi team, assuming you don't pin Minoura, which I don't think they'll do, and that unit will still very much be okay.
Yeah, I mean, they've already kind of portraying Kaito Ishida as the one that's like, this guy might be the problem. He doesn't seem to be taking to this as well as Minoura does.
I've got to talk with Kaito Ishida about the way he speaks about women. He was not in favor of these ladies in Kyoto.
He spent too much time with Eita, and Eita just enabled him to use very unnice words. He just needs to... Kota is a nice boy. Kota Minoura will teach him to respect people.
Kota Minoura is like an Abercrombie and Fitch model. That's basically what his new gimmick is. He is head empty, no thoughts, hot guy.
He's the himbo of the new era.
If I found an Abercrombie and Fitch, which would I think there's one in downtown Chicago, but
do they exist still?
They do.
That's my mall days, case. Like that was big in like 2000.
So, okay, so what were the brands? You had Abercrombie and Fitch. You had PacSun was a store,
right? Yeah,
but you had so you had Abercrombie and Fitch, you had Aeropostale, Hollister, and American Eagle. Were those all big in your day?
Hollister only really started to break out like when I was like going away to college.
Because I really liked Hollister growing up. That was my favorite of the brands because it was kind of a surfer brand. It was a little edgier.
I mean, I aged out, man. I went from like American Eagle to like shopping at the Gap, like that happened, But I was more towards American Eagle, which was like more of like a, I don't want to say upscale, but a little bit more dressy than Old Navy, I would say, is how I describe it.
Oh, completely. Because as a kid, when I was desperate to make friends, because I came from like a really small elementary school where they were all farm kids and hicks, myself included, and then we were all funneled into the richest part of central Indiana in this 5th and 6th grade school where, you know, kids were very much on trend in a way that I was unfamiliar with before. So my parents went from buying me clothes at Old Navy to me forcing their hand and making them go to American Eagle. I was never an Abercrombie guy. I'd be caught dead in Aeropostale, but American Eagle and Hollister I like quite a bit. And at least at that time, in the midst of the Great Recession, when I was making my parents go to American Eagle, it was far more expensive than Old Navy.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I was in a high school, and I remember when we got a Hot Topic in Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, God, take me back.
Oh, I mean, the T-shirts they had at that time, I mean, it was like Kitty the band, a couple Ozzy T-shirts. Linkin Park was big at that time. I'm still a big Linkin Park fan, Case. That's
hey, brother, we're on the same page there.
You don't want to know how many times I've listened to their Subway performance, by the way. But
look, I'm on record. I will defend it till I die. The Jay-Z Linkin Park Collision Course EP is a masterpiece. It's perfect.
Reanimation, Meteora. I mean, come on, Minutes to Midnight. Nothing but hits there. But it's something that, like, I dressed it. Well, like, for first and foremost, my exposure to music came really late because I just didn't care, like, growing up. Like, I've said this before. My first 3 albums were the best of Weird Al Yankovic Parts 1 and 2, AC/DC Back in Black, and Michael Jackson compilation History. This was like 1999, though.
God, that's a really weird group of music, Mike. That's really weird.
And you wonder why I mainly listen to, like, sludge metal and southern hip hop now.
That's, God, I can't even make a judgment call there. That's just a really strange trio of albums. I learned so much about you and yet nothing about you from that.
Just the way I like it.
There's a Hot Topic by my house. I remember I came home from my freshman year of college, and the girl I was dating at the time, we had been together for about a year at this point, and she was all excited because my mom, missing her son, gave me money. She was like, you deserve new clothes. Like, you just came back from college, go to the mall, see what you can get. She gave me like $100 or whatever. And I walked into Hot Topic. I said, do you guys have any Morrissey t-shirts? And they're like, yeah, we've got one on the wall. I said, all right, extra large. And I bought a Morrissey t-shirt. And then I was with my girlfriend. I was like, all right, well, I'm ready to go home. And she was so upset. She was like, what is wrong with you that your mom said, hey, knock yourself out here, go get new clothes. And your first thought was, I wonder what Morrissey t-shirt I can buy today. Why are you like the way you are? And I had no good response. I'm broken. What can I tell you?
I mean, it was something that, for, like, if you were someone who is not going to concerts, which I was not, you know, you could go get yourself the Dashboard Confessional t-shirt and you still felt like you were with it.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, that's the nurse right there.
I mean, it's just like, it was weird because it was right next to the Spencer gift store. A lot of overlap there in Fort Worth, Texas, between someone.
I don't know if I've ever been in a Spencer's Gifts. I'm well aware of the reputation it has. I'm not knocking Spencer's by any means. I just don't think I have put 2 feet in that store before.
Yeah. You're doing all right. You know,
I'm not missing anything by avoiding Spencer's.
No, and all of your takes about it, you know, you're pretty dead on about that.
Yes.
Pretty dead on about that.
I'm sure some people enjoy it. It's not my place.
Yeah, no, I remember the first time I watched Family Guy too. I told you, 2022, I'm not pulling punches.
No, that was really funny. That got me.
Yeah. So this match rocked. Like, getting back to the main event before we hit hour 3 of a show that's just about Kyoto and 2 matches. What's our problem? I thought this rocked. Like, really was cool to see how Minoru, Doi, and Ishida just came together and, like, just lockstep. Jackie Funky Kamei had his longest corner kick spot ever, which pops me, of course. And, you know, just was a lot of fun as a main event. And it's something that we've seen how 2021 was all about Masquerade versus RED. We're leaving that age. And you look at the top 4 matches and you have... just like look at it, you have a team that's going to remain unaffiliated, it seems. You have someone from high end, you have an unaffiliated guy, you have the natural vibes all over this thing, and you have Z-Brats. And it's something where it feels like, and this unnamed Hot Boy unit feels like that the company's in a real healthy spot. Just like taking a step back and looking at this show. Like, this is a spot show. In case you had 2 Notebook matches, I had 2 matches that was really close to Notebook on there.
Yeah, because I went 4 stars on this main event as well. I think it's absolutely worth going out of your way to see. There's some trio spots with Doyoshita and Minoru that can use some work, but I like the direction they're headed, so I'm going to award their innovation there. But to go on to your point, like I said, and I wasn't being facetious, when I talked about the opening match of Korakuen last week, that Daya and Yoshioka versus UT and Jackie Funky Kamei match, that was 4 hot guys doing cool moves, and that is what this promotion was built off of. And it seems like we are really hitting that point where we have the Toryumon sensibility with a new cast of characters, and I really, really like that. I'm really bullish on the current direction of this company, not just with SB Kento and with Skywalker and with even, Fujiwara to some degree. Dare I throw his name in there as the main eventers of the future. Just on a show-to-show basis, I really like the tone of this promotion right now. It feels very comforting, even with all of these new units and these new faces, and I don't think that's by accident.
Yeah, and it's going to be something that I really wanted to, like, you brought up, like, the sensibilities and, like, kind of redoing, like, Toryumon stuff. It'll be really kind of interesting. Might be something to do during the 2023 January cold spell. Take a step back and see, like, how much it really did emulate that. Because I think you found something there. I think you found some oil on that.
Yeah, it's, when Ultimo came into the promotion, and I've talked about this a lot recently, I was so scared about what influence he might have and how he might change the promotion. And stuff like the Dragon Scramble Battle Royals coming back, I was not crazy about it. I did not love that stuff at first, just because it felt like we were treading back to the social dance era, which I have an issue with, and which obviously Suwa has an issue with, as we discussed earlier. But whether it's intentional or not, the way they've recruited and trained these current guys, and Ultimo has no say in the training. I've asked people in the company, Ultimo is not there. He's not hanging out at the dojo. But believe it or not, Ultimo Dragon at this point is not hanging out in the Kobe dojo. But there is...
I'm just imagining him just like rolling up. Just him rolling up. KZ running drills, 6 guys just really working their asses off. And Ultimo's like rolling in there. He has his rolling suitcase. He has his mask and a fedora on, Yeah, he's asked to put out the cigar, him just like standing there just observing. Don't see that happening at all. At all.
I would like to see it, though. That'd be quite entertaining.
Oh, God, yes.
But yeah, I mean, he's not involved in any sort of operation like that, but it does seem like they are really gravitating towards the things that made this promotion so special, and more importantly, so different. And that was something that I was thinking a lot when I was doing, to reference the Between the Sheets episode that I did a few weeks ago, and I was really looking back at the start of this promotion and how we got to where we are. Something that has been said by people who I respect their opinions of, even if I disagree with this, is that, Toryumon had such a distinct flavor. And all of the wrestlers on the roster, they not only have these outlandish gimmicks, but they all seem to wrestle in their own unique way. And a lot of the people that loved Toryumon but fell off for Dragongate felt like when the Dragongate dojo took over, that class of guys, while they were all immensely talented, they lost the uniqueness of being a Toryumon style wrestler, where they were all able to do their things in their own unique way. Shisa was different from Horiguchi, who was different from Shima, who was different from Suwa, who was different from Tanizaki, who was different from Milano. When you look at the early Dragongate dojo graduates, Shingo, Hulk, Tozawa, yes, they're different, but they're in the same mold, as is Yamato. What we're getting now is we're getting guys who fit into the context of this promotion beautifully, but they all have their own styles. Once again, Dai is different from Kamei, who is different from Yoshioka, who is different from Fujiwara, who is different from UT, who is different from Shoya Sato. Like, we're once again seeing individuals really shine in this promotion. And I think long-term that is going to be very, very beneficial for the health of this company. Like I said, I'm very excited about where they're going, not only in terms of star power, where I think, between a Fujiwara and an SB Kento, and in terms of being the beating heart of the promotion, a Kamei and a UT certainly serve their purposes there. But again, just on a show-to-show basis, I think Dragongate is really close to having something special with this crop of talent in this era with these units.
Yeah, and I think it's how much, if you take the class of 2020 on, like just hammering your point home, how different they are. And it really does resemble how different, Toryumon Japan was. And I think that that's something that, returning to a comfortable approach, but with new characters, I mean, it's tried and true. Yeah, I mean, it worked for them 22 years ago. So like, why shouldn't it be emulated now? So I think it's fascinating that this is kind of that we are seeing this reset after and it makes sense though with like RED being so dominant for so long and then now becoming Z-Brats. It makes sense to kind of take a step back and doing the first real shuffle since, because it didn't really do a shuffle after Overgeneration disbanded. And
no, they shuffled away from the history of Overgeneration.
Yeah. And try Vanguard, I mean, try Vanguard just existing and not even no one's ever referring to try Vanguard again. That is a wild thing to think about in retrospect.
Yeah, I promise at some point we'll do an Overgeneration retrospective podcast. I cannot make the same promise for Tribe Vanguard. I would like to avoid their history as much as possible. Again, we talked about 2017, a show that had Mochizuki winning the Dreamgate belt and a Berserk versus Jimmyz no DQ unit disbands match, and I was begrudgingly watching that show in the moment going like, ugh, this promotion, I don't know if I can. And a lot of that was because of Tribe Vanguard.
Yeah, but luckily we are far away from it. We will be back next week. We'll be talking about the Hakata. We've hit the crazy part of the month, guys. Let's not mince words here.
Yeah, let's do an on-air production meeting here real quick. So if I look at the schedule here, we've got Sunday shows in Fukuoka. That's going to be the Dragongate tournament, and then a Wednesday show, which is Memorial Gate. And then that Sunday show doesn't really matter. So we're probably looking at a Thursday record for next week. Can you do that, Mike?
Yeah, Thursday works for me. All right, we'll talk about timing off air. But yeah, no, yes. Thursday is open.
All right, so expecting new Voice Gate next Friday.
Yeah, and it'll be, because we have Fukuoka, Wakayama. I know that they don't they don't schedule around our schedules, but they really decided to just jam patch it then. So yeah, looking at just going over the rest of the month for those at the Dragongate network, the Across Fukuoka shows, they will both be on the network. They don't have production or English commentary. It's the single cam setup. Wakayama, there's no English commentary this year because it's in the middle of the week. Don't know if it's going to be full production or not. I seem to remember sometimes it's full, sometimes it's not. And then instead of being in the friendly confines this month, they're at the Kobe Arts Center at the end of the month on the 27th, and that will be a single camera show. Then we get into March case. It's something, if you subscribe to the Dragongate network in February as your first time thing, you're getting a whole lot of everything coming up.
Yes, Corgan Hall March 3rd, Champion Gate in Osaka March 5th, Champion Gate in Osaka March 6th, and then a Kobe Sambo Hall show on March 19th. So that first week of March is going to be insane, and I look forward to it.
Yeah, and then we'll get a little bit of downtime and we'll revisit a lot more K-ness. So I think this works out well. Good production meeting, guys.
All right, well done, Mike.
Yep. So that's going to do it for us this week. Before we get out of here, we talked about this on Twitter, and I'd be remiss not to bring it up here. The Dragongate Primer, of which we put out last month, it's a living thing. We'll work on it. We're not treating this like reviews and articles where when we post it, it's done. It remains there. The Dragongate Primer, I think we're going to go for monthly. I want to say that makes the most sense here, but we're going to be updating that all through the year, and you can find it on the Voices of Wrestling website. There is a permanent sidebar note for it, or we have a link to it on our Twitter account, and we have a nice address for it that was set up for it. I think it's Dragongate 2022 or 22. I'm forgetting this.
Something like that. It's on, if you go to voicesofwrestling.com, it has a permanent fixture on the homepage of that site for the foreseeable future. So whenever a unit shakeup happens, whenever a whenever a title changes hands, whenever something that is integral to this promotion takes place, it is going to be updated on that primer. It is a living document that you can use as a reference point to get caught up, get tuned in, or share so people know what is going on in Dragongate.
All right, so it's voicesofwrestling.com/Dragongate22. I had to look this up, Case. It was going to drive me insane.
I didn't know either, Mike. I was completely unaware. I was busy this weekend and I did not respond to those DMs, but it's all set up now.
It's all set up now, and we'll keep it updated. And yeah, that's going to do it. So you can follow us on Twitter at OpenVoiceGate. Cases at _ in your case. I'm at Fujiheya. Thanks for listening to Open VoiceGate. We'll be back next week talking about the first sojourn to across Fukuoka and Memorial Gate. Take care.